Welcome back to Reliving Retro. This is Season 3, Episode 9. And if this is your first time watching Reliving Retro, we are a weekly podcast where we play one new game every single week. And we get together and we talk about it and rate the game. This week we played NFL Blitz, and we have a very special guest on with us. And go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Hey, my name's Dave Jackson. I'm the host of Tales From The Backlog, which is a weekly video games review podcast, but not like the week's new release review. I'm going through my backlog and retro games, newer games alike. I'd say I probably cover 5 to 10 new games per year, so that's definitely not my thing. I'm just kind of playing what I want to play. Every week I have a different guest come on my show, and we break it down. Story, mechanics, music, all that stuff with no spoilers, so that if you haven't played the game, you can listen to my show, figure out, what's special about it, etc. And then we have a spoiler wall where you can tap out if you don't want to be spoiled, and then we dig into it after that. So every episode's like that. So if you want to come check it out, find a game that maybe a game that you haven't played yet that you've always been interested in, like you want to find out what's cool about it, or maybe what's not so cool about it. Give it a listen. I'm sure I'm up to I think episode 56 or something like that now. So plenty of stuff to dig into. Yeah.
Now, out of those 56 or so episodes, maybe you don't have to give maybe your favorite, but maybe a couple of your favorite games so far from your backlog.
Yeah. Sometimes my favorites overlap, like favorite game and episode. So I did an episode on Disco Elysium a while ago. That was a game I really, really loved. And I had a great conversation. It's still a conversation that I'm really proud of. That was pretty early in the show. Another one was Before Your Eyes, which, have you guys heard about that game?
No.
It's a game that uses your webcam and tracks your blinks. And every time you blink, the story advances. And
that's really interesting.
What the hell?
It sounds super creepy, but it's very, very cool. And they have a great tie-in of that blink mechanic in the story. And the conversation I had in that episode was really excellent too. So those are a couple that I'm really proud of.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah. So definitely check those ones out. I'm definitely going to check out the Before Your Eyes one, because that sounds crazy.
That sounds
it's a mind-blowing game. Yeah.
And is that on Steam?
I think I played it on Steam. It's also on Netflix now. Like if you have a Netflix account, you can download games on your phone or your tablet, and it's on that too.
Technology is crazy. I don't understand half of it. That's why I just play Super Nintendo games all day.
Right.
It's wild. All right, a couple getting to know you questions. What would you say your introduction to gaming was? Maybe your first console, how you got it, how old you were, that kind of thing.
Yeah, my intro to gaming was the Game Gear. So
okay, I haven't heard that answer yet. That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't have a Super Nintendo or a NES, even though I was alive for those. We just didn't have them. I got a Game Gear when I was maybe in I don't know, 3rd or 4th grade, something like that. And I got my first memory of it is playing the Power Rangers movie game on there, because I was obsessed with Power Rangers. Well, I probably watched that movie a million times, and my parents were like, if we buy him this game, maybe he'll stop hogging the TV to watch that movie. So
R.I.P. Green Ranger.
Yeah,
true.
Yep. Rest in peace. So that was my first kind of gaming memory. Then I got a Game Boy with Pokemon, and then after that, it was all over. Ever since then, video games.
Hell yeah.
So you really started out as a handheld guy.
Yeah, for sure. We got an N64 when I was in 6th grade, maybe. So definitely started out with the handhelds.
So your N64 was your first home console.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
That's pretty
cool. The game we're going to talk about today was one of the first games I remember playing. So
nice.
Awesome.
So what would you say some of your favorite portable games are then?
Oh man, it's tough now because the Switch is so cool for portable stuff. And the Steam Deck too, I hear, is the best, but I don't have one.
I mean, they're expensive. They're expensive.
Yeah.
You have to wait 3.5 years to get one. It's I don't know.
By the time you get it, it's out of date.
I guess looking back, the second generation of Pokemon Gold and Silver and Crystal, I love those so much.
I didn't play those.
I remember when I first played them, I thought that they were like revolutionary because they had like the timed based events.
Yeah.
And that was the first game
wow.
I could ever remember that did that. And then there was another game that's kind of took over with that type of gameplay with like Animal Crossing.
Right.
Did that a ton. But yeah, the first game I could ever remember that did that was Pokemon Gold. Well, I played Gold. My brother played Silver.
Right.
We always made sure to get the different ones.
I wasn't into that second gen shit, man. I played Red and Yellow, and that's it.
Oh, well, I stopped after second gen. I didn't get
Okay.
into like Ruby and Sapphire and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I started
That
picking up
kept going.
Pokemon. Yeah, I started picking up Pokemon again. I think Black and White, I think, were the first ones I picked up again.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, ironically, it's that clock thing that makes the like the cartridges don't work anymore. You'd be really lucky to find one that works these days because
batteries
of that clock draining the battery. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I always thought it was awesome. Like you have to go to the park on a Saturday at this specific time to catch a pseudo widow or whatever it was.
Real time?
Yeah, real time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think you could also, I mean, with certain games, I don't know if you could do that with like the Game Boy Color, but I remember like certain systems had like this trick where you could do that. Like the GameCube, for example, you could set the console like time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to go to like Christmas or something like that in Animal Crossing, you could just change the date on the console. And one of my favorite things that you could do this in was Metal Gear Solid 3. And you could fight the boss at the end in it, and he's like an old guy, right? So if you start the fight and then you save the game, and then you go to like you exit the game and then go to your console settings and then set it a week, like past the time a week, and then go back and load it, he dies of old age. And it's one of my favorite things that you could do. Yeah,
that is really funny. I love that.
Yep. Metal Gear Solid actually had a lot of stuff like that too, where they could Psycho Mantis was a boss in that game, and he could read your memory card. And like for like the Twin Snakes on the GameCube, he would be like, "Oh, I see somebody likes to play Luigi's Mansion,"
right?
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I actually just played the original for the first time like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, he does that. You have that thing where you have to put your controller in port number 2 during the boss fight. All that stuff.
And this isn't a Metal Gear Solid podcast, but I'll just say, since we're on the subject, in Metal Gear Solid 2, I think it is, there's a point where the radio between Snake and whoever you're talking to starts like going crazy. And he's like, turn off the PS2 console, turn off the PS2. And then you're just like, all right, and turn it off. And then just nothing happens. You just lost your save file.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you're not supposed to listen to that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy, huh?
Yeah, it's wild though. Definitely got me the first time I was playing.
Dang, I never played any of those.
But anyway,
probably should, huh?
Yeah, they're really good. We'll get to them, I think.
All right, cool.
Back to you, Dave. What are some of your favorite types of games to play? Like favorite genres?
I am a Souls guy, so the Dark Souls From Software stuff, I'm all in on those. And maybe I might give you a little recommendation for one later on in the show. We'll see.
Oh, please do.
Yeah. Souls stuff. I really like CRPGs like Disco Elysium, Divinity Original Sin, that stuff. Especially if it's got a combat system that I can really get into. And yeah, I think like RPGs in general would probably be the biggest like genre that you could say is like my shit.
Nice.
Okay. Quick question. What's your favorite Soulsborne ring game?
Bloodborne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is yours Elden Ring?
Popular opinion.
Or is yours Dark Souls 3?
I think it's Dark Souls 3. I mean, Elden Ring was so good.
It was.
Bloodborne was so good too, but I couldn't adjust to the speed of that game. And that's my fault. I fucking suck. So,
it's
like
a tough game.
I gave up on Sekiro because I just suck at it.
Yeah. Dark Souls 3 is super fun too. Like it's kind of like picking between your children. Like I love all of them.
Yeah.
I can't relate. I mean, I have children, but I've never played the Dark Souls games.
You're gonna, dude.
Yeah, I've never played it. Well, that we started like just playing modern games on the channel a little bit, so maybe that'll be one I get to.
Yeah,
one of them. Should I start with the first one?
Or
it just
depends.
Skip to like Elden Ring.
If you can get the remaster, then yeah.
Yeah, the remaster, or like I don't know if you guys want to still stay retro and like you could play Demon Souls.
Oh yeah. I actually never played Demon Souls.
It's real
the first
good.
One or the remaster.
Big surprise. It's really good.
Yeah, I know. That's what everyone says.
There's another one too, like the original. I guess like the original like Souls games are like the Kingsfield games, right?
Kingsfield, yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that those are very, very hard though, because of the limitations of the
I
of the
covered
hardware.
Kingsfield 4 on my show, kind of leading up to Elden Ring this year, and
Yeah.
I loved it. I had a great time.
Nice.
Yeah, I've seen gameplay of those, but never tried to play them.
Never tried to play it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's get to the game that we played this week, which was NFL Blitz. And prior experience with this game, Dave, have you said it was one of the first games you'd ever played for the N64, right? So I'm assuming you played it quite a bit.
Oh yeah, I played it a ton on the N64, and I think it was 2000 that I played, maybe 2001. I can't remember. I have a physical like copy of 2001. I actually have 2 copies. I don't know how that happened. But I don't know if it's because it was my childhood copy or I just like bought a bunch of N64 games in college and it was one of those. But I still have it. So I don't remember exactly which version I played, but I know the Browns were in it.
Nice.
When I was a kid. So it must have been 2000 or 2001.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, because they're not in the original, which
Right.
we kind of just discussed. But in Yaiser, you had never played this game before?
I played it a little bit. I think we had it was on PlayStation, right?
Yeah, it was also on PlayStation.
Yeah, I think we had it on PlayStation. I played it a little bit, not a lot. I was so bad at it. I just didn't want to play it.
This game originated, I believe, in the arcades.
Yeah, there was an arcade machine for sure.
Yeah, I vaguely remember playing the arcade machine, but I definitely played the N64 original version. I don't even know if I played 2000 or 2001 at all. Actually, no, I'm lying. I'm like 90% sure I had Blitz 2000 for the PS1. But as far as like which one I played the most, it was definitely the N64 version, and it was like the OG NFL Blitz.
Nice.
Yeah. I just actually remembered, like, I think this was the first football game I ever played.
Oh, really?
Because
nice.
I played these before I ever played a Madden game, and I never played Tecmo Bowl or anything like that when I was a kid. So this is probably the first football game, which what an introduction to football video games.
Yeah, right.
I grew up on football games, so I had like all the Maddens growing up, like all of them from like the original John Madden for like Super Nintendo, and I had Tecmo Bowl for the NES, and I even had NFL football for the Intellivision. So there was definitely some.
Oh shit!
Yeah, we definitely played football games in my house. It's funny though. I remember this pretty vividly. I was at Walmart with my mom, and I was like begging her. I'm like, please, I want this game so bad. So she's like, fine, whatever. And then so we got NFL Blitz, and I was so pumped. And my dad always worked like the late shift or whatever, like second shift or whatever. So he'd come home at like 11 o'clock at night, and I believe it was a Saturday, so I was actually up, but I was playing NFL Blitz in my living room, and my dad came home, and like he tried to surprise me with NFL Blitz, and he already had it. I just thought it was hilarious. Like,
what a letdown for him, huh?
Yeah, he was trying to be like a good dad.
Yeah. He's like, oh god damn it.
Yeah,
beat me to it.
Yeah. I've discussed before on the podcast. My parents were very, very big into gaming, so
nice.
Had a lot of support, I guess. There, I wasn't, constantly being yelled at for gaming, which was nice.
Oh yeah,
for sure. You can't really beat this game. Normally ask if you beat it. I mean, I guess like you can go through the season and beat the Super Bowl, I guess. We didn't do that. Me and Yaiser just played 3 games head to head.
Arcade play,
yeah. And I beat him in the first 2, which we did 2-minute quarters for.
Yeah.
And then the last game we made it the longest possible, which was 6-minute quarters, and then Yaiser beat me in that one.
Yeah. I blame my losses on the 1-star offense of the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
I mean,
I was pretty close there in the end.
We really were, yeah.
You took off on me in the 4th quarter of that last game, though, and you scored I think you scored like 21 unanswered points at one point, and I was just like, this is bad.
Yeah.
We can let's get into story, I suppose. Well, actually, Dave, how many hours of this game did you play, like leading up to the podcast?
Leading up to the podcast, I probably played like 5 to 10 exhibition games against the computer.
Okay.
And I started a season mode and played like 2 weeks of it, but then like that was yesterday. So
and it doesn't really change a whole lot, right? Like
no, nothing changes.
No, just the team you play, and they're like, okay, there's a schedule, and essentially that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, this is nothing like Madden at all. There's no free agency pickups. There's nothing like that. No draft in the offseason. Nothing.
No.
It's a very arcade-ish game.
Yeah.
So we can get right in the story here then. I'll go first. There isn't a story.
Yeah.
There just isn't one. I don't even know, like, if we had like a Madden, there isn't really a story for that either. I guess for like the newer Maddens, there's like the whatever, like the career mode or whatever. But as far as this goes, it's just play football game, move on, play another football game. And so I'm just going to give story a 1 because I don't want to kill it because it's not something that needs a story. It doesn't have a bad story. I'm not going to give it a 0 because it doesn't have a story. I'm going to give it a 1. It's usually what I do with these types of like arcade games, like Crazy Taxi and stuff like that. Tend to give them a 1. Yaiser?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, you could give it a 0 if you wanted to,
Right? Because it doesn't have a story.
yeah, but I didn't want to do that to it because it was, it was too much fun. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I give it a 1.
Yeah,
And
that sounds all right to me. But what if you played this game a bunch or unlocked in the cheat codes or something? What if there was a story, but it was just super hidden in here, and they're like telling some deep story about violence in pro sports or something like that?
Well, it's funny you said that because I was actually going to ask you if you'd ever played Blitz the League, which came out for like the PS2.
I think we probably rented it for the Xbox or something like that. Yeah.
Because that did actually have like a story.
Did it? I just remember people's like bones breaking violently and them showing like X-rays on the screen of like shattered femurs and shit.
Like some Mortal Kombat type shit.
Yeah.
Well, not for nothing, but Lawrence Taylor was like the face of the game, right? So like one of the main things you could do, and it's been proven he did this in his career. You could like send like hookers to the opposing teams like hotel rooms,
tire them out
or like you could send like drugs to their you could send like steroids to try and get them to like pop for steroids or something like that. Like that game was kind of wild.
Crazy.
Kind of wild. Maybe we'll get to that one eventually.
Like the GTA of
I can't remember. Did that one have like the real NFL players in it? It
No.
couldn't have, right?
No. I remember like your main running back throughout the story mode. His name was Tyrone Kilgore, and I just thought that was a sick name.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think Lawrence Taylor was kind of like the main presence of the game, but other than that, there wasn't anybody of name or any name value to it.
Yeah, I just watched Waterboy like a couple weeks ago, and I think the funniest line is that in that movie is when Lawrence Taylor says to all the kids, "And that's why you don't smoke crack." It's like, okay, dude, that's so fucking hilarious.
It's a good movie, honestly.
Yeah, it is so good.
All right, Yaiser, let's kick off gameplay if nobody has anything else they want to add to story.
All right, dude, I'll kick off gameplay. This was actually kind of hard for me to grade because this game is mad fun, especially 2-player like we played it.
Yeah.
So I was really close to giving it like a 4.5. Not I wasn't thinking about a 5, but I had to take away a little bit of points because it's so hard to figure out who the fuck you're throwing the ball to.
It's the biggest issue I have with it.
It's the only issue really that I have with it. So I knocked it down. Not too much. I'm still giving it a 4 because it's still mad fucking fun to play. This game was a lot of fun, specifically 2-player.
Yeah, I mean, I had a good time.
Yeah.
I gave this game a 4.5. I did bump it up to the 4.5 range. Nice. I almost didn't, but then I was like, you know what? It's almost like fun kind of when you're like, oh, dude, I didn't mean to throw that guy, because otherwise it's like, I feel like it'd be too easy to score sometimes, right? But when your offense has like all these mistakes and stuff, it kind of makes the game more fun. And I think probably the craziest thing about this game is the fact that you can hit people like after the play, like that's totally fine. Refs don't care at all. Not that there are any refs on the field, but whatever. I don't think there's no penalties whatsoever.
No, because that's the only way to play defense is just do pass interference all the time.
Just destroy the receiver. Yaiser got very good at just taking out one player and then focusing on the other player. But yeah, so that being said, there's no penalties, anything like that. So I think it's so weird that in a game like that, they got as like specific to add the fumble through the back of the end zone thing. So if you in real life, if you fumble the ball into the back of the end zone that you are about to score into, that's a touchback for the other team.
Yes, it is.
They added that in this game, and I think it's absolutely absurd.
They
It
just
happened to us twice, I think.
It did,
Or
yeah.
it happened to me twice, happened to you once in the 3 games that we played.
They just like went through the rule book and they were like, what's the easiest rules to code into the game? All right, that sounds pretty easy. Fumble into the back, put it in the game. Everything else, no.
Yeah, it seems so crazy that that's the one they singled out, and because it's a very obscure like rule in real NFL. Like not a lot of people know about that rule specifically.
I'm only painfully aware of it because it happened to the Browns in the playoffs a couple years ago.
Yeah, I only became painfully aware of it when it happened to the Jets against the Patriots probably about 5 years ago or so. Austin Seferian-Jenkins caught a touchdown, and then they said that he didn't clear the plane in time, or like before he cleared the goal line, I guess the ball was knocked out and went into the back of the end zone that gave the Patriots an extra possession, essentially.
Yeah, it was Rashard Higgins versus the Chiefs in the playoffs a couple years ago. Lost a fumble right before halftime. Absolutely brutal.
Yeah. Was that the game after they beat the Steelers?
Yep.
Oh, yep. Man. They almost beat the Chiefs that game too.
The game where they couldn't stop Chad Henne on scrambling on the last drive of the game. They deserve to lose, but
that's when you say Chad Henne, it gets rough, you know.
It's bad. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, it's not fun. You and I are fans of very tortured franchises here, so I think we can feel each other's pain. Yaiser's team hasn't been good in a while, but they have a bunch of Super Bowls, so we don't care about his feelings currently.
And a couple good years.
Yeah. But yeah, so I landed on a 4.5. This game was extremely fun to play. Gameplay is where this game shines. And I thought on the 64, the controls were actually really solid. I thought controlling your guy and stuff was actually pretty what's the word, accurate, I guess.
Responsive.
Responsive, there you go, that was the word I was looking for.
Cool.
I actually thought the controls were really, really decent. I do think that for consoles they should have added the Madden mechanic of being able to press A or B or C down or whatever to throw to a certain receiver.
Pick a receiver.
I think that's where this game falls behind. However, I still think it's good enough for the 4.5 for me. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, the way that throwing works is it's wherever your receiver started the play. So if they started in the middle, then the top C button throws to that receiver. Hold on. Say
your words. Say them again slowly.
Yeah,
you could use the C buttons.
Yeah, you can use the C buttons to throw.
We were just hitting A.
Yeah, we're just hitting.
Oh, so you can also point a direction on the stick and then press A to throw. But you can also use the C buttons, and the receivers are designated by where they started the play. So
look at us.
What gets confusing though, it doesn't help though, because if your receiver started on the right side, but now they're in the middle of the field, they're the middle of the 3 receivers, you still have to hit the right C button to throw to them. So it doesn't help. It's still confusing as hell.
Which is how it would be if you were playing Madden. However, they don't
show you.
Yeah, they would have the buttons over them.
Yeah. So for gameplay, I'm gonna give it a 3.5. Like it's a lot of fun to play still. Like still had a great time playing it. There is a lot of random like bullshit that just shouldn't happen in this game. Receivers dropping passes for no reasons, and the fumbles are out of control in this game.
Oh man, we had some fumbles where the ball would just shoot straight up like 35 feet in the air.
Yeah,
just waiting to find out whose arm it lands in.
The fumbles, they're out of control. I feel like it's coded into the game where if you're doing too well, the computer will just get the most ridiculous interception you've ever seen against you.
Shit.
So, and then if you, I do know if you play on higher difficulties on Blitz, they just crank up the fumble slider. So it's just Fumble City all the time. It's brutal.
Jeez.
So those things kind of suck, but it's still really fun. So I'm going to give it 3.5.
Yeah, I think it's totally a fair grade. I do think that maybe we benefited from playing against each other, the 2-player. I think it's probably more fun than playing by yourself. However, when you left Yaiser, I was like, oh man, I want to try and download it on my computer so I can play like a whole season. I did get the itch to play like an actual season of it.
That's funny.
What was I gonna say next? Oh, I guess that's basically it. Yeah, you're done. You're done with gameplay.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna just agree with you with what you said. Like, I mean, if I played single player only, I probably definitely wouldn't give it as high as I did.
I guess the last thing with gameplay is just the whole time I was playing this game, I could not believe that the NFL allowed their real players to be used in this with the amount of like just brutal like violence and stuff in the game.
Yeah.
The fact that you can like suplex people after the play, you can do elbow drops on people's heads.
Oh,
The
yeah,
announcer's
witch
into
leg
it
drop.
every time you do it.
Yeah.
It's
This is
brutal.
certainly before the concussion era of the NFL.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they don't play around with that kind of stuff now.
And I remember when I was a kid, this was like my favorite part of the game. I was like gleefully like jumping on people after the play, like shoving receivers down 3-4 times.
Yeah, like legit wrestling moves on people after they're tackled.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's move it over to visuals. Yaiser, you want to start with visuals?
Yeah, I gave it a 3.5.
Okay.
I think it looks like the aesthetic is pretty cool. But like the football doesn't even look like a fucking football. These guys, I mean, it's funny, but like they're not real fucking people. It's insane the way they look.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the rest, like the field and everything is not like, I don't know, just kind of not that
there's nothing special about it.
Nothing special. It doesn't like none of the colors are like super poppy or whatever. But I think honestly, the 3.5 is probably because of how absurd the players actually do look. Like it's hilarious how fucking big these guys are.
Yeah.
So isn't nothing crazy, but also not that bad.
Right. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, I'll probably give it a 3.5. Sounds good to me. It looks like an N64 game to me.
100%.
So I'm not like a huge fan of N64 anymore. I've found it hard to go back to a lot of games. Visuals, they're N64 visuals. You cannot expect more than this from, especially like I played Blitz 2000, which is probably, early N64 era. So it doesn't look horrible, but like you're right, the people look super funny. Like they're trying to make like these big jacked up athletes, but they just don't have enough polygons to do it. And they look real weird.
They do.
But yeah, like the crowds look fine. The field looks okay. It's if you can get into some cheats where you can have like big heads or like tiny players and stuff, those look super funny too.
So, we didn't look any of those combos up, but I was telling him because he was like, he wasn't sure. He's like, what are all these like symbols for? And I was like, oh, well, you can kind of, make certain like combos of symbols and you can unlock certain cheats like big head mode and stuff like that.
So you'd like during the intro screen, I always just press random buttons and just try to key in like any combo that I can randomly get. And one time I keyed in max fumbles on accident, which is just fumbles anytime anyone gets tackled. It's chaos.
Oh my gosh. How do you okay. How do you even fucking play the game at that point?
Yeah.
I don't know if you do, man. It's
just gonna make fucking bombs and just throw touchdown passes. No get tackled.
I gave visuals a 3.
Okay.
It's a little bit less. I felt like obviously we've talked about how the players looked. They always reminded me of, I believe the guy's name is Cletus, the NFL on Fox's robot.
Oh, yeah.
That's always what they reminded me of.
That guy's cool.
He is cool. These guys are a little less cool than Cletus, but they kind of remind me. They have like that kind of like big robot football player build.
Yeah. They're humans, dude.
Yeah,
it's more impressive.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, visuals certainly didn't blow me away at all. They have like, it's the N64, right? So you're going to get the N64 graphics.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the stadium that shows that it's a specific team's stadium other than the fact that you get their names in the end zone.
Yeah.
I think all the stadiums are exactly the same other than that.
That's a good point.
Again, it's an arcade game basically at heart, so I don't expect too much. I was trying not to knock it too much for not having like those details that like a Madden, for example, should have.
Yeah.
I say should have because Maddens have really gone downhill, but that's another topic for another day. But yeah, I mean, visuals, like I said, it's not very impressive. The little cheerleader girl at the on the loading screens, like they put a lot of work into her.
They did.
That's where they spent all their visual budget.
I guess so.
Yeah, everywhere but her face for some reason. That I mean, it's rough. And I'm not like knocking uglies or anything like that. But what I'm saying is she looks very stone-faced, right? The face doesn't look very realistic at all.
Yeah.
But they certainly put a lot of money into those curves
Those titties.
for some reason.
I guess another knock you could put on visuals is like, if you like, one of your guys like lays out and he's on the field,
yeah,
that motherfucker is like 5 yards tall.
Yeah,
he's like 15 fucking feet tall.
Yeah, the ratio between people and field length, I guess, is pretty.
It's a little absurd, but again, I think that's the humor of it, I guess.
Yeah, I also think it's kind of funny that it's like, okay, guys, it's 1st and 30.
Yeah, I guess that makes a little bit more sense that way too.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Starting off with sound, Dave, you want to start it off with sound?
Yeah, sure. I would give sound a 4. Like the announcer's funny. I like the announcer, and like he comments, but he gets mad sometimes when you like jump on people after the play. He's like, that totally unprofessional. Like I love those. Still made me laugh when I was a kid. Still makes me laugh. They play music during the games, so like if you've never played NFL Blitz, it's not just like a quiet stadium with crowd noise. They play just this.
There's just music going on.
Music throughout the whole game, and it's kind of catchy. So sound effects are mostly pretty good. Like they have rudimentary voice acting for like people grunting when they jump on each other or hit each other and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty fun. Like it all the sound at least like feeds into the arcade violent vibe of the game.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Yaiser?
I'm almost there. I was at 3.5.
Okay.
For all the same reasons, that the song they play in the game, it is like just like this cool like vibe beat and whatever. The voices, I think the announcer is fucking awesome. Like you said, he says some funny shit. But there was one song, I don't remember when it was in the game, but it's in our
halftime. It's either halftime or the final score.
We just had to like look at each other and like,
okay,
this song
is all right. Yeah,
this song fucking rips.
I'm pretty sure it's halftime.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So I mean, other than that, like, it's just same song every game, all the same noises and whatever. So like, I couldn't go too high.
Oh yeah.
But that specific song, which it must have been the end of the game or halftime, one of them.
Yeah, it was a bop though.
It definitely was. It was funny. We just had to like look at each other and be like, okay, yeah, you're feeling it too. Awesome. Cool. So yeah, 3.5 is where I'm at with that.
Yeah, and I actually landed where you are, Dave. I landed on a 4. And I was at a 3.5, but I think the voice acting, not that the voice acting is great, but the fact that they added voices and dialogue to the game, I think really added to it. Sometimes the players, you get tackled for a loss, and it's like they voice their frustration too. Like sometimes you get tackled and they're like, "Is anybody gonna block for me?" or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I like hearing lines like that.
They talk a lot of shit to each other too. That's a lot of those voice lines.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And then there's like if like you were saying, how the announcer gets mad sometimes, and if you hit a guy after the play, I think one of my favorite ones was like, "What the hell's wrong with this guy?" Like I thought that one was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, music is pretty, whatever. It's an arcade game, right? You're not going to get a ton of stuff there. But sound effects I thought were pretty funny. There was actually a point where I ran through like maybe 2 or 3 of Yaiser's players, and it actually sounded like bowling pins.
Yeah, it does a bowling pin sound effect when you stiff arm people.
Yep. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. Just adding like just real arcadey type of sound effects to it, and it definitely made it feel that way.
Yeah.
So I jumped it up to a 4 because of that. Moving over to aged, Yaiser, why don't you start?
Yeah, sure. I think I'm gonna land on 4.
Yeah, this one was tough for me.
Yeah, I almost went a little bit higher just because of how fun it was. But it is, graphically, obviously, it shows its age a little bit. But I mean, as far as playing the game, it felt fucking great. It didn't feel old, but it does look a little old, I guess you could say.
It certainly looks the age, yeah.
Yeah. So I think 4 is a pretty solid score for this game. And mostly just because I don't know, it was just so much fun playing 2 players. It was a blast.
Right. I didn't quite get there. I got to 3.5.
Okay.
My biggest gripes with how this game aged was just the receiver select system, right? That's pretty rough. I think we all agree that's probably the biggest complaint of the game.
Yeah.
And the graphics are pretty bad. And then just, I guess, like game play like limitations, I guess. Not necessarily gameplay, I guess like game type. They're right. It's pretty much you do the same thing. Even if you're playing season mode, you do the same. You just play a football game. There's not much more to it. I felt like maybe they could have added like some, fun like little mini games or challenges or something like that you could have done, which I think if a Blitz game came out now, they probably would have modes like that.
Yeah.
But for what it is, man, it's an arcade football game, and it honestly doesn't get better than NFL Blitz for me. But I landed at a 3.5. I feel like the game aged pretty well. I was able to pick it right up. I can play. Controls, for the most part, make sense, and they're responsive. So, yeah, 3.5. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, that 3.5 sounds about right to me. It definitely shows its age in, like, if you played any football game in the last 15 years and then you play Blitz, like there's a bit of an adjustment,
Yeah.
And it's an N64 game, so the way it looks has obviously aged. The N64 PS1 generations probably aged the worst as far as visuals go. But it's still a lot of fun. When I first picked it up and got my N64 going, the biggest adjustment was just getting used to using an N64 controller for the first time in 10 years.
Yeah.
That'll be it. Yeah.
But you jump right back into the game. The game is
Play
super
Turok.
simple. It's not like you have to spend a bunch of time learning how to play this complex game. You can only pass. And I don't know if you guys like grew up playing it like this or found this when you were playing each other, but there's only like one play that's like guaranteed to be good in the whole game. The rest of them are total crapshoot.
Yeah.
It's Da Bomb.
The bomb. Yeah.
is the ultimate. And I don't know if that's like playground knowledge that we all just like picked up, back in the day, or if it's like just through trial and error you find like, oh, this is actually the only good play. That's kind of not aged the best, that there's like 30 useless plays in the game, but it's I can't be too hard on it. I still had a blast playing it. So
yeah, I will say, as far as the playbook goes, it is a little frustrating, the lack of plays, especially on defense. There's only 9, right? On offense, there's 18 plays that you can choose from because they have a page 2 for the offense. However, I was trying as often as I could to switch up the plays because obviously you can do the bomb but when you're playing against like a human, they kind of figure it out eventually. Your 3 guys go one way and that's pretty much it.
I don't know if you noticed, but I ran the same defensive play every single time.
I noticed that
Blitz too.
You'd pretty much do kind of the same thing, and then every once in a while you'd throw in like the suicide blitz.
It never
works.
Suicide
it's
blitz.
Always a backfire.
It's suicide. Yeah.
It almost never works.
No.
But yeah, there's a couple of plays there where there's like a reverse, so I would like run to the right, and then my wide receiver would come backwards, and I'd pitch it to him, and then I'd have him like kind of flea flicker, throw it to the guy down the sideline.
You got me with that a couple of times.
Yeah. So, and then sometimes I would I kind of ran it as an RPO in a sense, like a run pass option, where I'm either handing it off to that guy, or I'll keep it as the quarterback if that side of the field is wide open. If that side of the field isn't wide open, then I'll hand it off to my wide receiver. And if that side of the field is open, then I'll just run it. Or if it's not, then I'll throw it to the wide receiver.
Yeah.
So tried to be a little tricky with it, which I guess you can be. But for the most part, the one play that only works over and over and over again is the bomb.
I had the one play that was working for me at first until you like caught on to what I was doing. Was when you had I don't know, it was one of your backs or whatever came running behind you. But I would just run left and bring the whole offense and defense with me and just throw the ball directly.
Yeah, to the one guy that's standing on the side.
No one over there at all.
I also don't know what his route was, because he would literally just run to the sideline, and just like over to the flat, and then just stand there.
Yeah.
Nice.
And every time you would throw it to him, he's just standing literally 1 yard beyond the line of scrimmage, and then he would just run up the sideline for like 30 yards. It's the most annoying play ever, because I forget that guy exists.
Yeah.
I tried those reverses so much, and I just kept getting burned by throwing it to the wrong person. Like 75% of the time I throw to someone. And the other thing about the like I guess like the football strategy, if we're talking about that, like the plays, the red zone in this game is absolutely brutal. It's so hard to score a touchdown.
Yeah,
The best play for me was always to call da bomb, but then just run it to the left with the quarterback.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we had a lot of quarterback rushing touchdowns.
We tried it. I tried it a lot anyways.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. But you know, I had a lot of fun with this game. Yaiser, you said you had a lot of fun.
So much fun.
Dave, would you recommend, if somebody's never played NFL Blitz before, that they try to relive this game, that they go pick it up and play it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know how much it costs to like buy a physical copy, but if you're into emulating, yeah, give it a shot. Like this is not only is it fun, but it is a unique game. This game will never happen again. So it's kind of like a time capsule type thing too.
For sure.
Yeah.
If you have a buddy too that wants to play this game, I 100% recommend that you guys play 2-player, because it's a ton of fun, and it is fun to play by yourself also. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, hey, if you don't have a friend that likes football games, don't bother, because you should definitely still bother.
Yeah. I mean, I would rather play this than like the new Madden. That's just like too much for me, dog. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, grab a buddy, emulate this shit. It's a little difficult to set up your controllers for 2-player, but figure it out. Reset your emulator after you set up your controllers and play with a buddy, dude. It was so much fun playing 1v1.
Yeah, it did take us about an hour to set up the emulator.
But all we had to do was
didn't read.
All we had to do was restart it. We could have saved so much time if I just did that.
But we're stupid, so it took us an hour.
Well, if Project 64 didn't make you wait 30 seconds to reboot.
I couldn't stop laughing because it took us an hour to set this up, and then you're like, oh, we just had to reboot the emulator. It makes me wait 30 seconds. I didn't want to wait 30 seconds. I'm like, so it took us an hour? Come on, bro.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you think about it that way, then I fucked up.
It was funny though. Now it's time to spin the wheel to randomize what game we're playing next. Dave, this is the part where I'm going to vaguely describe this game, and then you get to guess what it is.
Okay.
So let's see. This is a boxing game.
Ooh.
Developed and published by Nintendo. Released in 1987 for the NES.
Is it Punch-Out?
It is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Yeah. I mean, Punch-Out would also work. The only difference between that and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is you play against Mr. Dream or whatever his name is. Punch-Out, and Mike Tyson at the end.
Nice.
Yeah. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and we have Jay from the Game Chasers on for that episode. So pretty excited to talk to him.
Yeah.
And also, Dave, we ask for a recommendation from every single guest. Do you have anything for us from before the Wii, PS3, and Xbox 360 era?
Yeah, I mentioned it before, but if you're interested in older From Software history, why not try Kingsfield 4? I found that game to be a huge learning adjustment at the beginning, but like a lot of fun. And like Yaiser, maybe you're with me here. If you value like kind of that special sauce that From Software has, they still had it back then. Nice. Yeah, that's my recommendation to throw in there.
So we should expect lots of dying, very hard boss fights and that kind of thing?
You should expect dying while you figure out how the combat system works, but you'll figure it out. And then lots of circle strafing, like lots of circle strafing, and sad NPCs, because that's what From Software does.
Sounds like it's a nail on the head there.
And I know most of the Kingsfield games were on the PS1. I'm assuming this one is as well.
This one's PS2.
Oh, PS2.
Oh,
okay,
cool.
Yeah. Even better, because the PS1 sometimes those graphics are tough to look at.
Awful.
Yeah, this is not the best graphically. This is not the best graphic game, but it's okay. It looks like a PS2 game. You know,
I mean, we can deal with the PS2 games for the most part. Like we played like Devil May Cry pretty recently, and that one wasn't that bad to go back and look at.
It was actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, for what it's worth. But yeah, so that's about it for NFL Blitz. And if you guys want to check out our Patreon, it's $5 a month, and you can add your games to our Patreon list, and they get priority over the other games there. It takes a lot longer to get to your games if you just add them to the master list, because there's a couple hundred games there.
We might never get to it.
Literally, I don't know how long we're going to be doing this.
We're not going to live forever.
We definitely can't, unfortunately. Yeah, so Patreon is where you want to go if you want us to play a game. If you're like, please hurry up and play this game, then go ahead and the $5 there. You're basically just supporting Yaiser and his Yingling habits here.
Wow.
Yeah, I reached right in front of your camera.
That was
buddy.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I got long arms. Yes. So next week we will be playing Mike Tyson's Punch Out with Shady J from the Game Chasers. And Dave, if you want one last time, you can tell everybody where to find you.
Sure. Yeah. So you can look on any podcast app, type in Tales from the Backlog. You will see a little caricaturized version of me there holding a stack of games. And like I said, the best way to get introduced to my show is look through the games I've done. Either find a game that you've already played or find one that you're interested in and want to know about. Because again, I don't spoil things. And there is a very clear spoiler wall timestamp in every show notes description. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you know when to dip out. So yeah, Tales from the Backlog. Hopefully you find a game that's interesting to you. And guys, I really appreciate the chance to come on and talk Blitz with you. This has been a good time.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Thanks for coming.
Of course. Yeah. I'm a huge football guy. So I've been trying to think like, hey man, like I really want to get a football game on here. I ended up throwing Blitz on our list a while back. And I was like, okay, finally we could get to playing some football games.
Yeah.
And it's, good luck to your Browns. They have, who some might call Voldemort is coming back to play. And
I call him. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so everybody go check out Dave. Go check out his podcast.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys next week with Mike Tyson's Punch Out. See you guys later.
Fuck yeah. Peace.